Good morning, EntreGrowth community. I'm so grateful you've chosen to join us today. We've got a powerful message for you. I was listening to a podcast yesterday morning on my way into Teach Quantum Leap, which was an absolutely incredible class. If you've never had an opportunity to join me for that class or join anyone who is an instructor out there who teaches that class, I would strongly encourage you to take it. It was an incredibly powerful day. Yet on the way there, I listened to a podcast and it was talking about getting really intentional with your growth. And he gave a 6-step plan to making that happen. So I want to share that with you this morning. And then we're going to have a conversation about it because there's some really, really powerful stuff in the middle of it that I don't want you to miss, because who we surround ourselves really does matter, especially when we're on our growth journey. So let's take it away.
And you just don't want to miss this, because I'm going to give you some stuff right now. This is pure gold, okay? This is so good, I hardly want to give it to you. And the reason I hardly want to give it to you is because it's so good, I don't want you to misuse it. I'm going to give you an intentional growth plan right now. It's just so simple. Let's go. Okay, here's my intentional growth plan. Number one, make a commitment to intentionally grow. That's where it starts. You say, well, John, that seems really simple. Make a commitment to intentionally grow. Guess what? It's really simple. Make that commitment to intentionally grow. Number two, make that commitment public. A commitment that is not public is worthless. Because let me tell you something. We all have a tendency to stray. We all have a tendency to give up. We all have a tendency to get off course. Come on. There's something beautiful about a shared commitment. A shared commitment becomes a strong commitment. Number three, identify the areas that you want to grow personally in. Identify them. In other words, sit down and say, okay, where am I going to grow specifically? Now, I'm going to help you here. When you start identifying the areas that you're going to grow in, it should be at least 2 and no more than 5. 5's probably a little heavy, but it has to be at least 2. You say, well, how about just focusing on 1? Let me tell you why. You want to grow in an area of choice, and you want to grow in an area of skill. So that's 2. So when I'm talking about an area of choice, I'm talking about maybe your attitude. That's a choice, isn't it? So I want to grow in an area of choice. Maybe it's discipline. And I want to grow in an area of skill. So for me, I started off with attitude and speaking, because I was speaking. I was a pastor. I want to be a better communicator. So I said, okay, speaking, that's a skill. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on my attitude. So identify what are the 2 areas at least that you're going to grow in. And then number 4, invest 1 hour a day in those 2 areas. Every day, including Sundays. Every day, 7 days, 7/24, 7. Every day. Okay. And when you spend that hour, I'm going to even tell you how to spend the hour. You spend the hour this way. Here's the way it works. Preparation, practice, reflection. Preparation, practice, reflection. Preparation, practice, reflection. Preparation, practice, reflection. You do it every day. Whether it's your choice or whether it's your skill. You prepare a little bit, practice a little bit, reflect a little bit. Every day. You're going to find this is just huge for your life. Number 5, invest 1 hour a week on reflection and writing on what you're learning. To take an hour every week and say, okay, for the last 7 days, this is what I've been practicing, this is what I've been preparing for, this is what I've been reflecting, and start that. Now let me tell you the secret on this. Because I'm kind of now talking about writing, I'm talking about maybe journaling a little bit. Let me tell you something. Don't try to journal a lot. Start with jotting. Jot before you journal. See, I jot every day. I don't journal every day, but I jot every day. 4 or 5 words. Oh my gosh, they're just mental kicks for me, okay? And then at the end of the week, you may have like 12 jots down. You with me? And you go get those jots and you say, okay, now I'm going to spend 35 minutes. I'm going to start writing. What did that mean to me? Just jot and then journal. And then number 6, share your growth with someone. Every week, find somebody that you can share your growth with. And let me tell you how this works. You sit down with, I want to tell you what I'm learning. I want to tell you how I'm growing. Now, here's how this works. This is beautiful. When you share your growth with someone, if they're happy, do it the next week. You with me? Oh, okay. Well, let me share. Can I share with you now? See, so if they're happy, keep sharing. If they're not happy, start moving. Don't ever spend time with people that aren't thrilled with your progress. The friends I dropped in my early years, were those people that weren't thrilled with my progress. Are you with me? They weren't thrilled at all with my progress. Those are the ones I left behind. I got some new friends. That's what you got to do. Because let me tell you something. If you become intentional in your growth, you'll outgrow almost everybody you know.
All right. So there was some really, really powerful stuff in there that I took away. And I'm sure you did as well. But here's just a couple of them that I wrote down. Number 1, what are you doing to develop yourself? And do you have a plan for your growth? Number 2, intentionality is so important. Yet intentionality has to be backed up with action. Intentionality is so important, and intentionality has to be backed up with action. Listen to this. The greatest intentions not lived out will never be as good as the smallest action actually taken. The greatest intentions not lived out will never be as good as the smallest action actually taken. Now, what does that mean? It means that when you feel really intentional, you have to back it up with the action to make it come to reality. The action is what takes the intentions and makes them real. He mentioned this at the very end. When you are on your growth journey, share it with others. And he said something really important right after that, but not only share it with others, but check to see what they're feeling when you share it with them. Are they looking at you and saying, hey, Shirley, you know what? I'm so happy for you. I'm glad that you're on this journey. Or are they looking and saying, I don't recognize the person you are because you're further than me. I don't like it. You probably shouldn't do that. You might get hurt. Or you're not really going to be able to accomplish that. It's not reasonable. It's not realistic for you to do that. There are dream believers in your life, and there are dream killers in your life. And when you start your growth journey, and every single one of you is on a growth journey right now, every single one of you is building your empire in entrepreneurship. I'm sure you've already seen some of those people along the way. You know, for me, when I first got started in entrepreneurship in general, one of those people was actually my mom. And she shared with me, she said, Scott, look, why don't you just go and get a job that has a paycheck? I love my mom to death. Yet she was one of those people that was my dream killer at that point in time, because she said, why don't you go and get a job that has a paycheck that you can depend on, that every single month you know what you're making? And, you know, I let that be my limiting belief for a little while. And I said, oh, maybe mom's right. And I went and did the whole 9-to-5 thing, worked for other people. And it worked to an extent where I was just so hungry that I knew there was so much more for me in life that I could accomplish by going and doing it on my own. Who are those people in your life who are holding you back? Sometimes we just have to have the real conversation with them and say, hey, you know what? I want you to be a part of this journey. I really do. I want to keep you here. Yet I need your support. And here's what that looks like to me. How can I support you? Where are you looking to grow? Because growth is actually a new conversation for a lot of people. Unfortunately, there's so many people in our world and in our society that believe that their education stops the moment they get out of high school or college, and that's it. That's all they'll ever need to know. I don't know about you, but I came to the realization that when I got out of high school and when I got out of college, I hadn't even really learned anything about the world yet. I was just starting my journey. So make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are going to believe in you, encourage you, and uplift you on your growth journey, because that's so important to continued success for you. The other thing that he said was make a commitment to intentionally grow, take actions on that commitment, and make the commitment public. Make the commitment public. Now, why would we make the commitment public? Because there's a layer of accountability built in. As soon as you go out in the world and say, hey, world, guess what? Here's what I'm going to accomplish this year. Here's what that's going to look like for me. Here's the journey that I'm on. I'm going to close 36 transactions this year. People want to naturally look good and be right. So guess what? When you put that out there, now you've told the world, here's what I'm going to accomplish, and you want to look good and you want to be right. You've got that layer of accountability for all of these people that you've just shared it with. You are more likely to take massive action on that because you have made it public. Guess what? I also believe that people naturally want to help you, yet they don't know how, because they don't know what they can do to support you in your goals, because they don't know what your goals are. So when we choose to share our goals publicly with people, they can then get on our team. They can support us with what we want to accomplish. And guess what? It also invites them to share with us what their goals are and how we can support them. I'd love to tell y'all that we're in the real estate business. We're not. We're in the relationship business. Real estate comes as a relationships that as a result of the relationships that we have. Guess what? Being a doctor is the exact same thing. Having patients is because of relationships that you have. You don't just get your license to become a doctor and then all of a sudden you go out, open your office, and people just run to you. You have to build relationships first. This whole lead generation thing is not unique to real estate. It's unique to any business that you're ever going to choose to get into if you go into business for yourself. So what are you taking away from our conversation today? What did you take away from Dr. Maxwell this morning?
Scott, I think it's so important where they talked about sharing it publicly, because on a daily basis, my dad and I will literally have a conversation about my day, and he does encourage me, and he's not the naysayer. So it's kind of like, okay, so what are you going to do next, and so forth. So it really is a good thing to have people in your corner, whether they are people closest to you or acquaintances. So that I agree, that is very important.
Now I would imagine it makes him and you both feel really good to know that you've got someone on your team who's in your corner
Absolutely.
supporting you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Michelle.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else?
Hey, Scott, can you hear me?
Greg, I can hear you. Good morning, Greg.
Hey, buddy. Good
From
morning.
Bluebell, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, brother. So, my takeaway was Gary talks about the one thing, but I like how he said focus on at least two areas of growth, personal
Yes.
growth. And it was funny when he said one area of choice and one area of skill. To me, they're interdependent, right? So I can still focus on my one thing, but in order to accomplish that one thing, I need either the choice, which is attitude, and discipline for the skill. So
Absolutely.
to me, it was the same thing, just said in a new way, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we are focusing on the one thing, that one thing that we're normally focusing on is a skill, and it's an accomplishment. But you're right. There's two different aspects to that. One is going to be a attitude aspect, and the other one is going to be some kind of a skill-based aspect. the one thing is really going to be two things, but I don't think Gary's going to write a book called The Two Things. So you're absolutely right, Greg. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Well, I appreciate every single one of you being here. And I'm going to share with you what I always share at the end of every call. Everything you want in life is right outside of your comfort zone. Choose today to be a little bit more uncomfortable so that you can have everything you've always wanted. I appreciate you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.